Sounds good. All right. So, Randy?
Yep. We were just talking, and this week, my story really is around hail because we're in that time of the year where hail is a very near and dear to us. I had a situation just about a week and a half ago where we had hail come across the south of the Metroplex, hit a new home community down there, new build community, damaged about 80 houses in that new build community. And I had a client that was under contract to purchase a house. The hail hit the house, beat it up so bad. When they went out to take a look at it, they ended up terminating the contract. Even though the builder was going to, make good and make the repairs, they just, that caused them to freak out that if it happened once, it may happen again. And they walked from the contract due to the damage from the hail. So that was my experience with hail. And as when a storm like that comes through, a lot of times as lenders, if we have a home that's about to close, they'll come out with reports of, hey, we know there's been damage in this area, and they'll want us to either go out and validate or verify that there's no damage to the property. And that's usually either through sending an appraiser out or sending like a roofer out to give us a all clear report to just say that, hey, we're still good, there's no damage to the property, and we're still able to move forward with the closing.
Wow. So I got 3 questions just off the top. So you said 80 homes. How big of a neighborhood was this?
It's down in the Red Oak area, so I don't know exactly how big the home was, but I know the builder that had 80 homes on the ground, that's what they're dealing with in that community. So
was it the whole thing, do you think? It was just...
it was big enough that it took out, I think, because those were 80 homes that had not closed yet.
Oh, wow. So it's like 80 homes not owned, just the builder finished them and they're sitting there.
Correct.
Wow.
So now I don't know what impact that's having on the builder, but it's got to be serious.
I'd say significant, right? That's a big number. And then you said an inspection by a roofer or an appraiser. Is that determined by the mortgage company? Is that determined by the underwriter, what they'll accept, or is it kind of an either or situation?
No, there's specific guidelines out there that say what has to be done. Usually, and I'm trying to think back to my last experience with that, we had to get the appraiser to go back out. Or now, like I know some of the wholesalers that we work with, they have an expedited process where if they need something like that, they'll let you actually take pictures.
Oh, that's cool.
And upload. I know UWM is a great one that has that program available where it expedites the final inspection piece, saving both time and money because it reduces, like I had a final inspection required recently on a new build and it was $150. Some of the wholesalers that'll let us do it where we don't have to send the appraiser out, it saves that money. So they just send it into their appraisal review department. I'm sure they have like a staff appraiser or something that looks at it.
That was definitely one of my recent experiences. We're getting ready to close this house. It's literally 3 days before closing, and I get a call from an appraiser. And we'd already had the appraisal waived because the property under their desktop underwriting made value without any issues. So I freaked out, and he's like, no, I'm just here to ensure there's no storm damage. And so I was like, oh, we have no storm damage. We already checked, go. And so not an issue.
Okay.
But absolutely affecting our ability to close loans on time for the most part. We're zinging them out because the roofers and the appraisers are, in my opinion, and you tell me if you concur on this, are very, what is the word I'm looking for? Quick to act when they know we have a closing on the line.
So one of the things, and I made a video about this specifically for realtors and lenders about 2 years ago, that when there's a significant hailstorm that comes through our market, insurance companies will cease underwriting and they will stop for 2 days, 3 days, whatever amount of time is necessary for them to figure out what the situation on the ground is. And then once they have their arms around that, then they'll open it back up. And we actually ran into a deal like that one time in Houston, you and I, because I think one of those, wonderful hurricanes came through there. Your client's neighborhood wasn't impacted, but they had the moratorium on there where I think we missed closing on that one. I think we had to wait for them to lift it so that we could place the insurance, issue the evidence of insurance, and then get it closed. So I think there's a lot more than just deductibles and headaches when it comes to hail, especially in the home buying arena. What are some of the things that you've run into on the real estate side?
So, got a phone call while the hail is coming down in Saxe in this neighborhood, and there was damage not on this particular home, but they were closing the next day.
Oh boy!
And so we got the roofer out who took pictures and told us that we didn't have any issues, and they went to closing and everybody was happy because we had proof that everything was fine. But
I thought this was supposed to be a bummer video for folks. That sounds awesome.
Okay, well, let me give you the bummer side of it. So have one person who made a claim, their roof is totaled, they're getting a new roof, and they get hit again by hail, and it has shredded all their window screens on the south side of their house, maybe broken a window or two, because some of those golf balls were pretty solid.
Yeah.
And they have fence damage now. And so, John, is this a supplemental to the previous claim, or is this a new claim?
This is a new claim. So I think that's the hardest thing about hail season for us, is that it's a season. It's not just an event. And so it's become less and less predictable. So the way I always try to explain to folks is we've got those nice tropical warms coming up off of the Gulf, and we've got those nice colds coming down off of the Rockies. And if you look at a map, they're almost aligned with each other perfectly. And so as those jet streams are meeting one another, you just start to get this like
anxiety
force. Well, that too. But you've got all the hots trying to rise, all the colds trying to settle, and they start to meet each other and fight, and that's where you start getting some cyclones. That's where you start getting your tornadoes from as well, and then that's where you start getting hail from, because that moisture in the air. And so the more unpredictability that we see in weather patterns, longer colds, colder colds, longer hots, hotter hots, right here in Texas, they just seem to meet. And so that hail season traditionally is kind of end of February, beginning of March through April. And so a lot of people will wait to file their claims so that they don't have two separate claims, because when you have two separate claims, that's two separate deductibles. That's also two separate claims that are going against you if you try to move insurers because you're upset and you didn't have an ideal experience. You might be stuck with that insurer. Most people are at 0 or 1 claim in the last 3 years, and if you're outside of those, then you're ineligible for insurance elsewhere. So there's a lot that goes into it.
John, I have a client whose house is on the market, and we were denied on the first claim, but now we have even more damage, and so we're going to make that second claim. But what does this do for the insurability of that house, period?
It could make it uninsurable, or definitely what's called a non-admitted carrier. So a non-admitted carrier is a carrier that doesn't necessarily subscribe to the Texas Department of Insurance's standardized underwriting and policy forms. It doesn't make it a bad policy, but it's typically going to be from a company that you've not heard of before. They're not going to have any television commercials. And when it gets into that, you definitely want to get into the financials and make sure that there's a lot of financial security behind that. So you may be going down the non-admitted route. It's not an easy situation for anybody. Hail season in North Texas.
So I feel like there's some key takeaways from this. Number one is do not make a claim until you have confirmed damage. And even then, personally, and you tell me if I'm out of line here, I wouldn't be making a claim unless I'm leaking. Mm-hmm. Like if I have more damage is incurring because I'm not taking care of something, that's one thing. But just wait till we get through this season.
Tarping. A lot of people will tarp, right? Okay. At that point in time, just to try to tarp and wait it out. If you drive down 121, you'll see just a bunch of blue tarps because people will tarp to get through the process. And it is, it's a really tricky proposition nowadays. Insurers are becoming a lot more stringent on what they're qualifying as sufficient damage for replacement. Most folks, you're like 10 hits per square. A square is a 10 by 10 foot section on your roof. If you've got 10 hits in there, a lot of insurers use that as the standard, but there's no fixed standard when it comes to it. Every insurer sets their own guidelines, so that makes it even more confusing for homeowners. So I think the most important thing is work with a roofer who is recommended to you by a professional that's into the industry, whether it be an insurance agent, a realtor, or a lender, or somebody that they've had an experience with, somebody that they've worked with, not a door knocker, no door knockers on the roof. The neighbor on the other side of this wall right here, his wife let the door knocker go up on the roof, and the guy goes, yeah, hey, you've got enough damage, we need to file a claim. He goes, I don't feel comfortable with that. Let me call my roofer. His roofer says, yeah, you have enough damage in a 10 by 10 square because the guy used a ball peen hammer and hammered it in, took the photo, and said, here's my evidence that you need a new roof, but the rest of the roof was absolutely fine. So be cautious, be cognizant, follow the law. It's illegal to waive deductibles on a roof claim. Go to TDI, Texas Department of Insurance, put claims waiver on there, and it's going to tell you it's illegal and it's punishable up to 6 months in jail. So there's some teeth behind the law. Insurance fraud has always been illegal, right? I always want to set that out there, but they finally put some teeth into the law. And then just make sure that you're something that you kind of alluded to, preventing further damage. Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't put my do not disturb on, but that you're preventing further damage from occurring, which is the water that you're talking about getting into your home. Anything else from you guys about hail?
No, I think that really covers it.
There's more coming.
Man, insurance is a lot like watch paint dry, except you got to pay for it, right? It's boring, but it's important. So hail is definitely the topic of the day, and I appreciate you guys and you sharing your story.
Yep.
Thanks
Easy
much.
enough.
All right.